All right, today is such a special day. I'm doing something new on the channel here that I'm really excited about. It's such a huge blessing to introduce our community to a very special student of mine. I'm Bethany, the creator of Simplified Piano. Many of you probably see my hands teaching you piano tutorials, but I've never really introduced any of my amazing students. So today we're going to do just that. I want to spotlight one of them. Just as I see Simplified Piano changing lives by helping people learn to chord and worship on the piano, this student is using her gifts in incredible ways as well to inspire and equip other women to pursue passionate, powerful prayer lives. She's not only the co-host of the Praying Christian Women podcast, but also the author of over 40 books. Alana, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thanks for all the work you've put into this channel. It has been such a blessing.
Yes. So you and I initially connected through a private piano lesson, and now you're also a part of our Simplified Piano Plus membership. And so for those of you who don't know, that's our all-inclusive membership with access to everything we have to offer. And I thought it was neat because one of our conversations, we had such a wonderful discussion about how pairing worship with prayer can be such a dynamic way for Christians to be able to express their love for Jesus. So can you share with us some of the strategies you've found for deepening your time with the Lord in prayer?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, I co-host the Praying Christian Women podcast. And so, prayer and intercession and worship are so close to my heart. And like you, I'm a creative person. I'm a novelist and, into music and stuff like that. And so, what I love about music as a way to connect with God is sometimes you need something that either transcends or at least goes deeper than the written word or the spoken word. And I don't know of anything that can do that in the way that music can. So some of my first real powerful worship experience as a musician was one day I was kind of like you. I was forced to take music lessons. I was violin.
Mm.
And I needed to practice like 40 more minutes to meet my quota for the day. But I had literally I had checked off everything that my teacher expected of me to practice.
Mm.
So I'm just like, well, maybe I'll just like play a little bit by ear of some of the songs I like from church. And it was the first time I realized that music doesn't have to, it basically changed from like the kindergartner who's reading the little reader and like reading the words that somebody else
Right.
wrote to be like, oh, I could write a novel. Like
Mm.
that's the degree of difference. It felt like I can make this music mine. So I think I started by like playing a few songs by ear, and pretty soon I was just like praying and worshiping and making music
Mm.
that went along with that. And again, seeing how sometimes that can transcend the words, or at the very least, enhance the words. And so,
Mm.
since then there's been lots of different things. My life took a turn farther away from the music and more towards the writing.
Mhm.
And now it's getting a little bit back into the music side of things. I'm doing singing at church, and when our pianist is gone, I found your channel. So now I'm
Mhm.
able to plunk a few chords and at least accompany myself for that. But I really love seeing music as a tool to connect with the Lord. Now that I'm up front in church leading the music, I also see it as a way to intercede for others. So
Mm.
sometimes, I'll be standing up front. We have a very small church, and so I know just about everybody. I mean,
Mhm.
I do recognize everybody, even if I
Mhm.
couldn't like pull the names
Yeah.
of 10% of them. And so as I'm there worshiping, I used to think that worship was just me and God,
Mm.
right? But now I'm realizing, no, like, yes, there's a time where it is just you and God, like that time with me and my violin. But there's also a time where you get to be part of this beautiful corporate experience.
Mm.
And that is something that you can't replicate when you're just listening to the radio in your car
Right.
or something like that. And so I see it as both a gift that I can give the people in our church, but
Mm.
also as a way to intercede for them. So maybe we're singing a song and I know what Mary in row 3 is going through. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of like, God, let these words speak to her.
Mhm.
Or I see a new person come in, and
Mm.
and I notice that because again, it's a very small church. So I'll be like, God,
Yeah.
help them to have a blessed experience. Like
Mm.
help them meet you here. And so that's been a really fun component that
Mm.
is newer to me.
I love that. Yeah. The insights that you just shared are so beautiful, and it really connects with the heart of worship, especially when we sing to the Lord. So Ephesians 5 kind of speaks to that, really saying, speak to one another with psalms and hymns and songs from the Spirit, and singing and making music from your heart to the Lord. It's a verse that really reminds me how our time with worship can really go beyond practice. It can become really a refreshing part of our day that rejuvenates our souls, really. So like you had mentioned, you're not only the co-host of the Praying Christian Women podcast, but you're also an accomplished Christian author. I recently read one of your books, Save Me Once, which we talked about. And it was absolutely captivating. It was right up my alley. And so I bought 3 more. And I have yet to dive into those, but I'm waiting, because I read the first one in 3 days, which is, it has to be a good book for me to jump into that three days in a row and get it done. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about your journey in creating your own online bookstore, and what projects are you currently working on? And are there any special packages you're putting together for book lovers like me?
Yeah, well, there's one package that is perfect for book and music lovers. So I'll draw your attention to 2 different ones. I have a book. It's perfect for around Christmas time because it takes place at Christmas. It's about a young woman who's a newlywed. She and her brand new husband have just moved to this itty bitty community where he's the pastor of a very small church. And she's a city girl. She was in her symphony down in Southern California. She's a violinist. And so it's her experience adapting to small town life, adapting to life as a pastor's wife, and then just adapting to life as a newlywed, which is hard enough when you don't have these other things going. But her journey playing the violin really plays into that. And what I did in this book is, she is, and it's funny, I never thought about it right now because I wrote this book years ago, and it kind of is paralleling what I'm going through like today in my life. Is basically, because she's a musician, her church asks her to lead the singing, and she's like, I can't lead singing, I don't lead singing. And so she ends up taking voice lessons. And I see the voice lessons really as kind of a metaphor, not to get to like, literary, I'm your high school English teacher, but it does become kind of a metaphor for her learning to discover her own voice, not just her singing voice, but being able to tell her husband, you know what, I can't have you gone 7 nights a week. I need you to be home with me sometimes, or I can't have you putting this church in front of our relationship every time the phone rings. And so it's her musical journey as well as her journey just as a young newlywed. And then my newest book takes place in Alaska, where I'm from. It's called Toils and Snares. And that one draws really heavily on the hymn Amazing Grace. So we actually have a box set. You can find it at christianbooks.today. It's got the book and a beautiful Amazing Grace neck bracelet and journal and mug. So I kind of like that too. If you're looking for a gift for like a music lover in your life, that would probably be a good one too.
Oh, that's so neat. I love how personalized you are as we're getting to know each other in our musical journeys, but also our business journeys. It's always so neat how you are just connecting with your reader and just seeing their needs for things in their life. And you put that so beautifully through books to speak through books. So
thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me today. I just love hearing more about how God is using you in the gifts that you have. It's an honor to have you not only as one of my students teaching you kind of the simplified skills to be able to learn how to do worship in your own church when you're needed, but to be also an active part of our Simplified piano community. So thank you so much for sharing what God is doing in your life. I pray the Lord will continue to bless your podcast and your books and all the ways that you are touching people's hearts for Him. So thanks for joining, Alana.
You're welcome. And thank you for your channel. It was exactly what I needed, and I didn't even know to be looking for. So it was very much, and you know how those times where God answers a prayer that you didn't even realize you had prayed. Like, I just needed a simple place to start, a simple way to fill in when I'm needed. I didn't want to have to be spending hours. Like, I'm at my computer typing a lot, so I don't have, and I've got some carpal tunnel issues. So like, I didn't have the 3 hours a day for 12 months. In my mind, I had built it up to become proficient at piano. So I am so thankful for your simplified system. I'm about 6 to 8 weeks in from when I first saw your video, and like by week 5, I think I was able to do a whole worship set at church
I
when our
love that.
pianist was gone. So
Yeah.
really appreciate that you made it as
Mm.
simple as you did, and you have such a great selection of songs. So thank you for all the
Mm.
energy you've poured into it.
Thank you. All right. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for joining.